Chapter 14. Rosa Lee grabbed her ribbons and wanted them all tied in her hair at once. "Look, Mama, blue and green and red and yellow," she cried. Mama smoothed her new apron with reddened fingers. "Why, son, this is so pretty, I'll save it for Sundays," she promised. Lucas opened and closed his knife so often Tyler finally warned him with a smile. "Careful, Lucas, or you'll wear that out before you've even had a chance to use it." How glad he was he had taken the time, even as Bigger lay in the tan yard, to make the purchases that now pleased Rosa Lee and Mama and Lucas so much. Of course, they all wanted to know if he found Papa. "I did, for certain," Tyler reported. Their eyes glowed in the lamplight, but on his first night home it seemed best to tell them only the parts of the story that would be easiest for them to digest. "Papa's different now," he explained. "Remember what the war did to Oatschnapp's brother, to Mr. Harold Crow? Well, war does different things to different people. The truth is, it lit a fire in Papa that water can't put out." Mama nodded. Tyler knew she understood exactly what he meant. "A fire?" Rosa Lee echoed. "Papa caught on fire?" Lucas was quiet for a moment. "Will he ever come home, Ty?" he asked finally, anguish showing in his eyes. Being a second son, he missed Papa in his own special way. "Well, it's hard to tell for sure about things like that, Lucas," Tyler answered. "There'd be other times he and Lucas could discuss this, but tonight only the brighter side ought to be shown." "He might. You can't tell. Some day he might come riding across that bridge out there and we'll be together again," Lucas finished. Tyler nodded, as if that were so. What he didn't describe was the hard new look in Papa's eyes, how hollowed out his cheeks had become. That Ransom had fallen somewhere in the war. Even though Mama didn't weep easily, such details might make her cry, and her tears would frighten both Rosa Lee and Lucas. Tyler finished his story by telling them what he believed was possible some far-off day. A long time from now, maybe General Shelby will decide to come home again, not to carry on his grudge against the Union. Everyone who rode after him might follow him back just as quick. Can't tell. That might be the way it turns out. He wanted to believe the story himself. At Eagle Pass, he had decided to turn loose of his dream, but deep down, Tyler wondered if he ever could. Then he told them about the old woman and her husband who'd lost their sons, Dolph and Joshua. He told them about Isaac and showed off the pale scar on his brow where Isaac's rock had nearly killed him. He told about the rainstorm in Texas when he'd run for high ground, about eating cactus. Both Lucas and Rosa Lee wrinkled up their noses and made "ugh" sounds. About roasting lizards over a fire. Hearing that, Rosa Lee jumped off her chair and said she'd never, ever leave home if it meant she had to eat lizards. But what could he tell them about Bigger? How could he explain the first night Bigger slept by the fire? How mistrustful the dog had been, but how he'd finally made up? How to explain Bigger's strange eyes, his hard life of being poked and prodded until he turned into a devil? How he'd gotten free of the chain at Uncle Matt's, had followed along until he finally made friends? At least Mama and Lucas had a picture in their minds of Papa, but how could he give them a picture of Bigger that would do the dog justice? Rather than tell something that would come out wrong, Tyler decided to say nothing at all. After the potatoes had been put down in the root cellar in September, one evening when everyone was about to get ready for bed, Tyler announced he was going for a walk. Rosa Lee rubbed her eyes and wanted only to be tucked in with a story, but Lucas offered to tag along. Together, under a few early stars and a quarter moon that hung low in the west, they reached across the bridge and went to visit Bigger's grave. In the falling dark of early autumn, Tyler could see by faint moonlight that tiny new green shoots were already rising from the black, loamy soil where Bigger lay sleeping. Tyler told Lucas about the first time he'd laid eyes on Bigger. Soon he'd told him almost everything. Talking about Bigger was easier than talking about Papa. He was just about the best dog a person could have, he finished, as he and Lucas sat side by side beneath the sister trees. Best how? Lucas wanted to know. Tyler tried to put his finger on it. That man who beat on Bigger so bad was what folks call a scallywag, Tyler explained. He robbed people and sold their stuff for money. It was Bigger's job to guard that man's wagon, but what he wanted mainly was just to be somebody's friend, to be a regular dog, not some monster people would call a devil. Too bad Mama gave all Maggie's pups away while you were gone, Lucas said, moving closer to Tyler in the dark. You could have taken one of them, Ty. Maybe then you wouldn't miss Bigger so much. Suddenly, Lucas's eyes got shiny in the silver light. Why, you could have named your new dog Bigger, too. Tyler felt the warmth of his brother's shoulder against his own. He shook his head and looked down the slope, pale in the moonlight, down to the road across the bridge that spanned Sweet Creek. No, Lucas, he said with a sigh, because sometimes there's only one of a thing, and nothing else can take its place. Whatever comes after has to be its own thing, but can't ever be what you lost. Just like no matter how kind and good Uncle Matt was, he couldn't take Papa's place. The only person who could do that would be Papa himself. Just the same, it was nature's way to make the best of things, Tyler realized, smoothing the new, fine as baby hair grass with his fingertips, to make new beginnings and fresh starts. Yes, that was nature's way. Walking up the road with Lucas at his side, it came to Tyler how he might be able to do such a thing himself. It wouldn't bring Papa back, certainly not Bigger. Nothing could do that. He laid an arm across his brother's shoulder. In the morning, I'm going down to Uncle Matt's, he told Lucas. I owe him some money, and I want to tell him about Papa. He didn't tell Lucas what else he hoped to do while he was in New Hope. Lucas reached up in the dark for Tyler's hand. You're going to come back, though, ain't you, Ty? Why, Lucas, you couldn't drive me off with a stick, Tyler replied. Of course I'll come back. This is as fine a home place as a man could ever pick. Dear words, Papa's words. This time Tyler arrived in New Hope just before the store closed. Uncle Matt was refolding a bolt of yard goods he'd been showing to a lady and looked up with astonishment when he saw who was his last customer of the day. Why, Tyler, he exclaimed. Then a knowing look appeared in his eyes. Tyler was grateful some things didn't have to be explained to Uncle Matt. Somehow he just knew. It saved a person the pain of trying to put it into words, what couldn't be contained so tidily. Ah, so that's how it turned out, Uncle Matt said simply. Not all the casualties of war are on the battlefield, eh? He smoothed the fabric and returned it to its place on a high shelf. He turned then, and rather than looking gloomy, seemed pleased at what he saw. But you, Tyler, look at you. Why, I think you've grown on a whole inch while you were gone. As nephews go, I'd say I got the pick of the litter, he declared, his eyes mild and smiling behind his glasses. That's what I wanted to talk to you about, Uncle Matt, Tyler answered. You want to talk about nephews? Uncle Matt repeated, adjusting his spectacles, a puzzled frown carving furrows in his pale forehead. No, about litters. Litters? Your little hound, that Daisy dog you thought so much of, did she ever have those pups she got put up in the family way with? A disgusted look came into Uncle Matt's eyes. You might say so, he said peevishly. 6 of the little rascals came before she was all done. Last one was a runt that died straight away. Other 5 were a motley collection, not a fine hound pup among 'em. Where? Tyler questioned closely. Did you drown 'em then? If Uncle Matt had been determined to shoot Bigger, it was entirely reasonable to suppose he'd get rid of Daisy's bastard pups. Oh, no, I didn't drown the misbegotten little wretches, Uncle Matt said, looking embarrassed. It's not that I'm soft-hearted, mind you, but those pups were dear to Daisy. They were her young'uns, you see. It would have been a frustration to her if I'd stolen 'em away. She had 'em during the night, had 'em licked clean, and took to nursing 'em right away. Maybe I should have drowned 'em in a water bucket, but... So you still got 'em? Only two, thank heavens, Uncle Matt exclaimed. Folks from hereabout took the others. There's a female left and one male. An ugly little devil if I ever saw one. A devil if I ever saw one. Can I see 'em? Tyler asked. Best you come on in to supper now, Uncle Matt urged. Clayton will be glad to see you, and later, if you still have a mind to, we can... I'd rather see 'em now, Tyler said, not especially eager to see Clayton any quicker than he had to. The pups were in the livery stable, enclosed in a chicken wire pen made especially for them. Me and Henry fixed this up on account I can't let 'em run loose, Uncle Matt explained. They're a wild pair, into everything, chasing chickens or horses or anything else that moves. Even stole Aunt Margaret's unmentionables off the clothesline one morning and dragged 'em all over town. Uncle Matt grabbed the female pup by the loose skin of her neck and held her out to Tyler. She's a good girl, he admitted grudgingly, for a mongrel, that is. The pup looked a lot like Daisy, Tyler saw, except that her speckled coat wasn't smooth, but was dense like a bear cub's might be. She thrashed energetically in his arms, finally twisting around so she could cover his face with a warm, wet tongue. In the pen, the male dog sat in three-quarter profile to greet his visitors. He was not as dark as Bigger, had a coat that was chestnut-hued rather than charcoal, had a bib pinned across his chest that was as white as if it had been laundered only hours ago. When he turned full face, Tyler saw that he had one cool blue eye and one warm brown eye. Tyler set the wiggling female pup back in the pen beside her brother.